Hi, my name is Syed Waqas Mahmood, and I have over 6 years of experience as a software architect and engineer. I have worked as a design architect, as a full stack developer, as well as a DevOps engineer. I would like to move to Europe or Canada. Currently, I'm working on a freelance project that is based on the .NET framework, where I actually write code as well as mainly I am responsible, for building uh, a continuous integration and deployment pipeline, which is fully automated. Um, well, the main technology that I'm working on and I want to work on in the future is the .NET framework and the C# language. And the three technologies, well, I really love to work with. First of all, is the .NET framework, the whole .NET ecosystem, AngularJS for front end, JavaScript, and CSS and HTML, of course, are involved in front end as well. And as far as the .NET framework goes, I mean, I love working in the ASP.NET Web API or ASP.NET MVC and or any kind of libraries or any kind of API deployment development. Uh, so the whole .NET framework or its ecosystem comes into play. My two core strengths. Well, first is API development, like a standalone backend system for employing the RESTful architecture, and second is single page applications using AngularJS. Outside of work, so the main thing is that I really want to pursue .NET framework in the future as well, and this is what I love to do. Outside of work, I actually love traveling a lot and also playing FIFA or GTA 5. So let's demonstrate the app, and please excuse me for my heavy voice because I'm going through a flu. So as you can see, uh, I need to sign up first. Um well, the sign up actually does not include the email verification because I think it will be too far-fetched for this simple application. So let me just sign up real quick here. Nothing too fancy about it. Okay, no post yet. Let me post quick post. Let me make the description a bit longer so it's easier to test. Okay, also we have the category here. So the categories are actually served as master data because I think this is more appropriate. Let me submit it. So here we can see. So whenever it's as I will actually log in with another account, we will see that whichever post is posted by the current user, then they actually have the option to edit or delete it. Let me add a new one, post number 2, and okay, 2 posts. Now let me log out. Let me sign up with another dummy account. I will say again the white. Well, we don't have email verification, so we can enter any email. Okay, so here you can see these are not the current user's posts. So what I can do is I can just read more. So here is the title, the description, and then there is this tag, and I also have the ability now on to comment on any post. So let me real quick comment on it. Oh, sorry. I actually have enabled a debug point. Let me remove it and let me enter another comment. Okay, so these are my two comments over here, right? Let me go back and let me add a new post by myself. So this is choose a category. Okay, so Gandalf the White's post is actually, you can see, has the option to edit or delete it. So if I edit it, I can do so, and I can say this is updated. I can change this, and also I can say change description. We can verify these changes. Okay, now if I don't update it and I just view it, and I can see that the title, the description, and the category all are actually updated. And I can also leave a comment on my own post. So Gandalf the White has left a comment on his own post. If I want to delete it, it will confirm that, and then it will just delete that. So let me this is my new post. This okay. So let me log out and let me just use my first account again, and here I can see that I can only read this, but I cannot edit it. So let me read it and leave another comment here. So I have this comment. Also, if I want to put a comment here where other people have already commented, this is so you can see that my comment has been posted, and this is the category, description, title. This is how this would actually go about, and I can safely log out now. Now that was the demonstration of the application. Now let me come over to the architecture. As I have mentioned in the document for backend, that I'm actually employing the domain-driven design pattern here. Sorry. So I have a, a web API host that is actually a common one for my different bounded contexts. So I have these two bounded contexts, that is identity and access. Identity and access is actually for authentication and authorization purposes. Form is actually for handling all the operations related to posts, comments, categories, and in each of them I have these four layers. The main one, starting from the core, is domain model that actually defines all the aggregates and aggregate routes. So I have this post. I'm honoring the singular responsibility principle here. So the reason that I have private setters is because I do not want any of these attributes for any entity being modified from outside that aggregate route. So in this case, I have this post aggregate. So the post is actually the aggregate route, which also controls all the operations related to comment. So whichever attribute we want to modify, we will actually have to request the post aggregate to change it for us. So that's the concept of the aggregate and aggregate routes in the domain model. And then there's this infrastructure layer where we have the persistence mechanism going on. I have used entity framework for this because entity framework is like really easy to instantly start using, and it's fits and to the .NET stack really well. So uh, you know there is this our DB context, and then there is this the main interface that all of these different repositories need to follow. And then there's this abstract implementation, a generic implementation, I should say. uh, and this generic implementation can be used by any repository for some really common operations like adding new entity, updating, deleting, or getting by ID, or getting all the entities. So this can be implemented, actually inherited by some specific repositories. And then I have these specific repositories over here, um, and that are actually implementing iRepository interface, and based on that there's this specific interface that these repositories actually implement. So in the case of host repository, as you can see here, it actually not only that it just inherits the repository base for the common operations, and then it has its own like specialized operations as well. I'm using Ninject for dependency injection, and I'm also using Fluent API configurations for defining different kind of properties and attributes for entity framework. And then there's this application layer, which is nothing really specific. Like there's one thing called CQRS, like command query responsibility segregation. So I don't want to expose my domain model to the outside world, so I have created representations, which is really not necessary in this kind of a small project, but it actually gives us a view of gives us a proof of concept. So whichever things, that requests that come from the outside world, they are in the form of commands that we parse into our domain model, and we send to the outside world in the form of representations, and we are not exposing our domain model at all. And then there's this ports layer that is actually just handling all the different API calls. So I have tried my best to have a very uniform API architecture over here. And then there's this identity and access, which actually uses Microsoft Identity, which is really seamlessly integrated, and not saves a lot of time and work. And also the Oven pipeline. As far as the front end goes, it's just a single page application and developed in .NET Core. So I have different controllers and services and directives, and their the grunt. I've used grunt to actually process or all the JavaScript files. And there are this is the main app.js module, so which actually uses Angular UI routing. So I have defined all the routes over here and configured all the different things that need to be configured here, and the auth interceptor service. I'm going through really quick because I don't have much time left. So hopefully in case if there's any issue, you can please let me know about it, and I can explain that if anything is not clear or not well documented in documentation. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and hope to looking forward to hearing from you soon. Hey, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.